I'm Ben Jackson. I'm part of the AOA's subcommittee on technology, and we're recording a podcast today with the AOA annual leadership meeting about the AOA's APEX leadership program. We have a great group of folks today that I'm going to be interviewing who are either alumni of the program or currently involved in the AOA's APEX program. Just for folks to know, it's essentially a 12-month certificate program. It involves 3 in-person sessions. Currently, there is one session that is in California and LA, one session in Chicago, and then one session is at the annual meeting. There are also multiple things that have to be done in between sessions, including some homework. So there's a hybrid portion to it. And then there's some virtual components as well. All that is done through the University of Southern California's Marshall School of Business with some of their outstanding faculty. So today we have Dr. David Lazarus, who's a pediatric orthopedic surgeon at the University of South Carolina, Greenville with Prisma Health, who is our AOA APEX alumni. We have Kamran Hamid, who is at Loyola and a foot and ankle surgeon there, and Chris Gross, who's at the Medical University of South Carolina, who's also a foot and ankle surgeon. And both of those gentlemen are currently involved in the AOA's APEX program right now. So obviously folks can get a lot of information about this program online. So what I'd really like to get to is a little bit of the motivation of why did you decide to do this program, and what do you think that you got from it or are hoping to get out of the program? So David, I'll start with you. You've obviously graduated from the program, so maybe start us at the beginning. So there's definitely commitment with this program. What inspired you to become part of it?
Yeah, thanks, Ben, and thanks for having me. So I was in the 2020 and 2021 cohort because our year was delayed and drawn out a little bit because of the pandemic, but I was actually encouraged to do it by my chairman. And at the time, the program was still relatively new. And once he told me about it, I talked to some others who had done it. And I was trying to learn some more skills as I'm still very early in my career on how to navigate things within our hospital system. As you know, Ben, we're part of the same system now, and it is a very big system. So how to deal with not only our hospital leadership, administrators, the OR, clinics, but also our partners and how we further advance our department.
So, Chris, what inspired you to be part of the program?
So I'm about 8 years into practice at this point, and you kind of reach this threshold where you can only do so much as a surgeon. And one of the things that I wanted to figure out is, how do I peel back a layer of my own profession and figure out, how I can make it better for myself, for my patients, for my staff, and in really understanding the economics and business side of orthopedic surgery. It's really helped me understand, what challenges I face and how I could potentially accomplish them and succeed in the future. Secondarily, it's an opportunity to enhance our skills in learning about leadership and communication, emotional intelligence, and things that oftentimes as surgeons we don't necessarily excel in.
So, Kamran, one of the things I didn't mention that I should have about you specifically is you also serve as a chief medical officer at one of the Loyola facilities. So I imagine that played a role in your decision to become part of the APEX program. Curious if it did, and if so, why?
Yeah, well, I've already conquered all of foot and ankle, so there's nothing left to learn there. So I had to move on to the next chapter. No, yeah, very much so. I wanted to get a better understanding of how a health system work and how hospitals work. And we learned from the masters how to do orthopedic surgery. And so I thought we should go learn from the masters about business as well. And that's been like the really great thing about having business professors from USC is that they come from a different world from us. They speak a different language, and they've been really kind and gentle in teaching us the language. I have learned so much over there. I mean, there's never a moment when I get drowsy or stop paying attention during these courses.
Outstanding. So, David, you've been through the program at this point. Did it accomplish your goals? And what would you say are one or two things that you really learned specifically that you don't think you would have gotten somewhere else from this program?
Yeah, I do think I accomplished most of my goals with the program. And I think as far as biggest things that I took away, for one, I think a lot of leadership skills can be taught, and we can always improve and we'll always continue to improve throughout our careers. But more at a baseline level as how to deal with conflict and negotiating were two of the biggest things that they hit really hard earlier in the year. And, I use a lot of those skills on a daily basis with running our clinics, just dealing, at, low level stuff in the operating room. And it's been very helpful.
So, Chris is somebody who's currently involved in the program. Obviously, it's a big time commitment. I mentioned there are 3 in-person sessions. They're all over the country. Obviously, this year with where the annual meeting is, at least your practice is an East Coast practice. You've got to go to LA, you've got to go to Salt Lake City and Chicago. How did you work that into your schedule? Is that something you need to talk to your departmental leadership about? How did you handle the time commitment that is not insignificant with this program?
So I'm extremely grateful to my department for allowing me to do this, and they understand what the time commitments were. So the great thing about the APEX program is they lay it all out for you as soon as you sign up. So, I know 6 months, 10, 12 months in advance where I'm going to be. And, you can really schedule anything you want to around a schedule that's built that far out in advance. I mean, all the calendar invites are sent, and it's extremely convenient. But in taking the time to go to these in-person meetings, I think it's important because it allows us a time for reflection. It allows us a time to step away from our practice, and knowing that we have a protected time away from our practice to really concentrate on some of our own values, to reevaluate those values, and to see, how we can make ourselves and our practices stronger.
And that actually leads right into my next question for Kamran, and that is, I think one of the selling points that they talk about is a camaraderie and the relationships you get developed with people that are maybe not in your specialty. Because oftentimes, as we progress on in our field, we typically just go to maybe an academy or AOA and then a specialty meeting, and we can only go to so many meetings. So how do you think the camaraderie has been so far? And do you think that's worth the time sacrifice away from your practice and potentially your family to go to some of these in-person sessions?
The camaraderie is wonderful because they have screened out people that are just like me, that have like the same interests as me. And I'll tell you, it's a place where in my day-to-day life, end up like all of us having to talk a lot in clinic and in the operating room. And the APEX program is a time when I don't talk very much and really listen. And not to be cliche, but I would say I learn a lot from our classmates and what they have to say about their problems in the places that they're at and how they've challenged those and found solutions to those issues. And a lot of times we live in very, very different places, but we have the exact same problems. And they're usually human problems, and it's really interesting to see how they deal with them. The other thing is the course is full of people in different stages of their career as well. And so there's some people that are earlier on like us, and then you'll be sitting next to somebody that's about to be the CEO of a very big hospital as well. It's really incredible.
Yeah, I think that's something that I have appreciated as well from the program is that we all have very, very similar challenges no matter where we are. I think coming together with another group of smart people to try and solve those challenges is very helpful. And I think the diversity of the folks that come and do this, I think you kind of mentioned we're like-minded in many ways. We want to learn more about our profession, hopefully give back to our profession from a leadership standpoint. And so we're like-minded in that way, but also fairly diverse, at least from an age standpoint. I know that the Dr. Martin, the executive director of the APOS, I think did the APEX leadership program 2 or 3 years ago. And I would say, he would say he's closer to the end of his career and has achieved a whole lot, yet he's sitting there with folks that are maybe 5 years into their career. So the other thing is, 2 of you, David and Kamran, are now new members in the AOA as of about half an hour ago. So first of all, congratulations on that. So did this course play a role in your deciding to become a member, or did you do it in hopes that this would help you vault you into membership, or was it not a factor at all? David, do you want to handle that first?
Yeah, for me, it really wasn't a factor at all. I had actually, I'm still early in my career, and I talked to people and asked the question, am I too young to do this? And back to your point about there being different levels of people, I was told that by somebody who is older who had done it, said he had done it when he was younger because it really helped vault his, academic career. So no, it didn't have any role in me applying to join the AOA, but I do think one of the best parts is sitting there with people that have, at the end of their career and getting the advice from them one-on-one, sitting at a table. And that camaraderie, continues well after the program's over.
Kamran, what are your thoughts?
I did them contemporaneously. So I had the same mentor, Alex Ganayam, who's our chair. And he's the one that encouraged me to look into AOA because he thought it would be good and match up with a lot of my interests. And then the APEX program he thought also seemed like a natural fit. And so I have to give him a shout out and thank him for supporting me because, it comes at a there's a price tag that comes along with it, not just to pay for it, but then also to have me gone from the practice. And he's been very, very supportive. And I think that's probably a key thing for being part of the APEX program is you have to have a supportive leadership.
Hey, Chris, so we've heard from a couple of folks the importance of specific kind of mentorship and departmental support. Is this something that was recommended to you, or is this more organic that you wanted to pursue it? How did you come to decide to do it?
So it actually came about two different ways. I've been looking into the program and I kind of dipped my toes into it maybe a couple of years ago. And I really wanted to explore and see if that was, it was right for me at that point. And honestly, I think I was too young and just too entrenched in my practice to even be able to think outside of myself and my daily life. So I took a step back and I talked it over with Lee Letty, our chairman, and he was extremely supportive about it this year, and was really gung-ho about me developing some of the finer aspects of leadership and some of the other things that we would get from the APEX program. So again, a shout out to my organization for allowing me to do this.
So David, one of the focuses I think is on the business of medicine. Obviously, it's taught by the Marshall School of Business. We have business school professors who are teaching this, and many of them have a special focus in kind of healthcare and some in finance. How do you think that's helped change the way maybe you approach departmental meetings? Have you asked for more financial information? Do you feel like you can process that better? How's that changed your ability to assess that?
So yes, I'll try to focus on our pediatric division and make sure we are growing in a healthy manner and staying within the goals of our taking care of our patients, but also within the goals of our hospital. I don't know if anything, things that I've learned at that program definitely helped me with managing our actual practice and the growth, and we get those numbers. But there's still a lot behind the scenes that I'm just information that I don't have.
Sure. Kamran, you mentioned about kind of speaking the language, and I would imagine as a chief medical officer type person, you do see a little bit more of those financial things for the hospital system. So if you've been able to analyze that, process that better, determine somebody trying to intentionally speak over your head at a business meeting, and now you can kind of catch them on that. Tell me how those experiences have been so far.
Yeah, it's like when you go to a room and everybody else speaks a different language and they're making fun of you and you have no idea. That's how it was before. And now it's like I've done Duolingo and I like picking up on a little bit of it. What is interesting is that from before APEX till now, I'll be sitting in similar finance meetings, and I realize that I now know more than some of the hospital presidents and finance people about the things that we're discussing. Hopefully they don't ever listen to this, but it's true. It's like you get trained really well, or educated, I should say, really well by the people at USC Marshall. And they do it in a way that takes real complex subjects that maybe people don't understand very well and breaks it down into simple blocks and then builds you up to get to that complex place. So I feel like it's made a world of difference for me.
You would say, I think in slight differentiation from the three of you, I had an opportunity to go get my MBA at the University of South Carolina, Durham School of Business, as I like to say, the other USC or the real USC. And it's been interesting to get re-exposed to some of the same concepts for a second or third time. One, I would say that they do a really nice job of explaining it. So, I took an entire course on financial accounting, and they managed to sum it up in a couple of hours. I think it's kind of drinking out of a fire hydrant. So you may not get it the first time through in the APEX program, but I think you at least have the resources and people do a really nice job of explaining it. I would say even for those that have had the opportunity to maybe pursue an MBA or another master's degree in master's public health, I think getting the information a second time or maybe third time or fourth time presented in a slightly different way just helps kind of reinforce it. And I found that to be very helpful in many ways, in some ways kind of confirmatory.
So Ben, knowing that you had your MBA, what were you expecting to get out of this, and what have you been surprised about during your learnings at APEX?
So I think that some of the things are actually for the business side, it was more confirmatory. I think a lot of this for me was about three different areas. One was about leadership skills. So I think there's several things that they do, which we haven't spoken about yet. So thanks for the question, Chris. You're not supposed to ask me the questions. Spectacular. I think they do a lot about personality surveys. So we're supposed to become more introspective, understand what our strengths, what are our weaknesses, where can we improve, and what are opportunities for that. So I think that's been something that's been important. I think I'm looking forward to discussing that in about 2 days here at this session. We just did kind of a personality survey and leadership thing, which we got those results back before he came. David is nodding his head as he is probably recalling his experience with that. The other thing has been teamwork. We've done some great teamwork exercises already. I'm looking forward to doing more of those. The two other things for me were about the collegiality. So meeting other like-minded folks, I think is really helpful because these are folks that want to rise in the profession, that have future aspirations, maybe outside of doing pediatric orthopedics or foot and ankle or spine surgery or hand surgery. They really want to promote the field, kind of the movers and shakers. And I think that's who's kind of involved in this, excluding me. And then the other thing I think is it's a differentiator. So I think when you're looking to do leadership things, whether it's through the AOA or through your state, your division, your hospital system, wherever it is, I think when you say, I'm willing to commit my personal time, energy, and money to do these things, it's a differentiator from you for others. And I think that I would say so far it's really paid off for me. I think I can't prove that yet, but I think so. And that just the skills that I've acquired and the people I've met. So that's kind of the reasons that I did it, despite having some of the business background.
Thank you very much for your responses.
Yeah, outstanding. So, David, I'm curious, as a graduate of the program, have you kept in touch with some of the folks that were in your APEX cohort? And have there been other things, like if they invited you to come be a visiting professor, to come speak, or to do other things like that? Is that something you invited them to your program? No,
I'm definitely not an important enough person to be invited to another program yet, I hope. But it's more when I see them at conferences that I do stay in touch with people. Whether it's here at AOA or at our pediatric meetings or SRS meetings, but I think those relationships do continue on and are always going to continue to be beneficial.
Outstanding. So I would say, as far as the course goes and moving forward with it, Chris, how are you hoping that this is going to change your career going forward after you complete the course? Hopefully, if they let you graduate.
If I were to be so lucky to graduate, for someone who has completed the APEX program, it's really up to them to decide what they want to do with it. Do they just want to understand their department's financials better? Is it, important for them to understand their hospital's financials better? Really, learning about the incentives of the department, of the organization, and then aligning your program and services and surgeries with them is interesting. So really, it's whatever you want to do with it, you can. If you want to take more of a leadership role, great. They'll help you. If you want to take more of a managerial role, it'll help you understand some of those things that the administrators are talking to you about. But if you really just want to internally process it and then benefit your own patients in your practice, that's even better.
Kamran, do you have any thoughts about how you hope this is going to propel your career?
Yeah, I think the tools that they gave us, I have already been using to try to influence and persuade administrators to do things that I think are right and help our clinicians. So I think that's useful, is that they taught us the language, and now you can use the language to stick up for ourselves. The other thing is, I also am lucky to give talks and grand rounds all over the place, and a lot of this information is stuff that I'm now starting to assimilate into those grand rounds talks. So I feel like spreading the word and the gospel to young orthopedic surgeons has been something I've been excited about.
Yeah, I think that's a great point about the program is hopefully, and I think the goal of the AOA's leadership programs are in general that you go back and take this information and share it with others, because I think there are a lot of orthopedic surgeons that are reasonably in the dark, either by their own lack of knowledge or their hospital's intentional opacity around finances and business and how they do the way how they do the things the way they do them. And I think this only empowers us to understand the contribution that we make to the system, both from a patient care standpoint, which I think we understand that very well. But I think understanding how that plays better into the financials of the hospital is really, really important when it comes to things like contract negotiations or trying to get a bigger building or clinic space or MRI scan. One of the programs we worked on at the first kind of in-person session was looking at, like, how do you make a pro forma and what does that mean? And how do you look at return on investment, or and how do you measure that? How do you measure that it's going to be a 1 year or 5 year return? And I think we can speak the language of the administrators that are in charge of improving these capital projects. I think it is really helpful.
No, I think what the APEX program does, it, kind of what you were saying, is it makes us a little bit more dangerous to the hospitals, in that we now have a better idea of what we're talking about and how they communicate with us. I think oftentimes as orthopedic surgeons, we're really left in the dark about making decisions for our practice and for the department or for our service line, simply because we don't have any idea what these things mean. We just really care about, having an efficiently run clinic, taking care of our patients, doing great surgery. But when it comes to the business side of things, we let things gloss over us. And I think this, allows us to see past, a little bit over the wool that's been over our eyes for so long, simply because that's how they control us.
It's interesting. We often talk about value and we talk about quality and cost, but often we aren't told what the cost is, and we're only told when they think our quality is bad. And Kamran, as a chief medical officer, you may have more thoughts on that, but it is very interesting. We talk about value all the time, but yet we don't have a lot of education or are given the information about cost.
Oh, I just want to say this. The APEX program is fun. It's like exciting. It's not boring classwork. It's interactive. And nobody does it for a grade. They're doing it purely because they want to learn stuff. And they're taking time away from their families and their practices to do it. So there's a reason why people keep going back to this, is because it's like excellent quality.
Yeah, I think subconsciously one of the skills that I can notice myself now is difficult situations, whether it's conversations with our office manager, hospital administrators, or other things just in life in general. I am much more comfortable and subconsciously confident going into those situations. And those are skills that a lot of which I was taught during that APEX program.
Both because you learn more about yourself and then also understood where you could improve.
Both.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks so much, guys, for your participation, not only in the AOA's APEX program, but also in this podcast. Hopefully this will be informative for the AOA members and emerging leaders to be able to look at this as an opportunity to both further themselves, their knowledge, their skill set, and a way to further the professional orthopedics. So I really appreciate your time. The AOA is debuting its new 2024 Leadership Education Program in partnership with the University of Southern California, the 2024 AOA USC APEX Leadership Conference, Achieving Peak Performance. In 2024, the AOA will shift from the cohort model to a 1.5-day module program that focuses on leadership skills for the orthopedic surgeon. This offering will be held twice, each focusing on specific leadership topics. The April 2024 conference will be held at the University of Southern California campus in Los Angeles, California. In September 2024, it will be held on the Henry Ford Health Campus in Detroit, Michigan. Registration opens soon, so please go to the AOA website, www.aoassn.org, for more information.